We are tuned in to fitness and consciousness. The School of Alchemy. O youth with no knowledge of ancient ways bold, before you can tell, you must hear what you're told. O child now enrolled in the classroom of truth, hear from the elder what you'll learn when you're old. As seeker, you must leave the gross world behind, so philosopher's stone can melt you to gold. Your listening is dulled by food and by sleep. Dissolve these false needs and return to the mold. When love's hottest rays penetrate hardened soul, you'll burn so with God, even sunshine feels cold. Drown yourself without fear in God's deepest sea. Your curls won't be dampened when legends unfold. Surrender comforts, give your sight to the blind. The bright light of God your new self will uphold. If sincerely you seek God as companion, no doubt can exist, you will bond in the fold. Embrace life's foundation, its highs and its lows. Empty your heart till every craving is sold. O Hafez, if unity indeed is your dream, be as dust on the floor or the school's carpet unrolled. By Hafez. It's from a book called Teachings of the Professor of Love, translated by Hale Porofsal and Roger Montgomery. I'm pretty sure I pronounced Roger Montgomery right. Not sure about some of the other stuff. So Hafez lived in the 14th century, I believe it was. I think I'm going to read some more of his stuff this episode. This episode is called Ways of the Lone Wolf. I'm going to be getting into a bunch of these ways. And as I was picking out some stuff to read, I have a bunch of books on my table here, a bunch of books over on my floor. There's a book on the arm of my couch. There's just books all over the place. But I decided just to stick with Hafez for this one. I think may change my mind. So he was one of the ones I was reading, and sometimes it didn't really impress me a lot. I don't know, impress. He's one of these greatest poets of all time from Persia. It would be southern Iran, I think is what I just read it a minute ago. But so if he's so great, and I read it for the first time, and I'm like, maybe I'm missing something. So there was one of my favorite guitar players is Joe Bonamassa. He plays guitar and sings, and he has. From the time he was about 12 years old, he was opening up for B.B. King, and he's just one of the greatest guitar players that there are. And I remember he had a new album that was coming out, and I kept checking my Spotify, or I think even at that time, that was even before I had Spotify. Yeah, I think I bought the album at Best Buy. I knew it was coming out, and I'm so looking forward to it, and I'm so looking forward to it. It finally comes out, and I go to the store to get it, and I play it, and I'm like, uh-oh, I don't like it. And I didn't really like it. I'm like, damn, that was really disappointing. I've been looking forward to it for so long. And then I get it, and I don't even like it. And then I listened again, and I started to really like it a lot. And then now I think it's one of the best albums that he has. I think it's awesome. I think it's really great. Why was I not so impressed at first? It wasn't that I thought the music was bad, or that all of a sudden he's not some awesome guitar player. But for some reason, maybe it was because these sounds are new. He's pushing himself all the time. I mean, he just cranks out the product, and it's all high level. I don't think he puts anything out just to meet a deadline or something like that. Everything that he does is just great. So I think it just takes time to really hear it. Now, if you go to a martial art class, your teacher is going to tell you the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, you think about a boxer, all you can do is jab, cross, hook, and then like some footwork stuff. You should be able to learn all that in like 10 minutes. But they keep going back. Okay, you can throw a pretty decent jab probably your first day. And your average observer, it might not look much different from the guy that's been practicing every day for a year or 2 years. But when you're sparring with them, there's going to be a difference. So why we keep going back? Because we keep learning. Oh, raise the shoulder up. Oh, when you told me to raise the shoulder up the last 12,000 times, I didn't understand. But now, you meant raise the shoulder up. Oh. It's funny how it works. So I wanted to dig more into Hafez, and because at first I'm like, and it was kind of the same thing with Tagore. Pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. But so I start reading more and more, and then it's like, okay, now I'm getting to know this guy from 700 years ago. And these aren't his exact words, right? They're translated. So how well can we really know what he was trying to say anyway? So this episode, I wanted to, I guess, talk kind of some about the pros and cons of being the lone wolf, and I think you'll see what this has to do with what I was just talking about before. Eventually, I think it ties together. So I guess I don't like just go around calling myself a lone wolf, but I guess I could be described as one because I'm not really trying to fit into any groups. And when I found myself identifying too much with a group, I'd maybe decide to leave it. And that's kind of how I was or am with the Strong First kettlebell instructor certification that I have. I got it almost 4 years ago. I was planning on doing the level 2 on my birthday in April. Today is February 17th, 2019. I know it's not for you. But so, and normally, or not normally, well, what I was thinking was, okay, in just a couple months, I'm going to be at the certification, and it's kind of cool because I'll be 40 years old that day, and I'm going to be at this certification. Well, I decided not to do it. I'm thinking about, another, he calls it a qualification through WEC method. David WEC is probably the main trainer that I'm studying right now. He is the main trainer that I'm studying right now. There's a lot, and partly is because it's just different than what I've been doing. And so his certification would allow me to do, or qualification would allow me to run running clinics. And he has a very good way. I really think that if people are running, they need to use his method. And if you're coaching people to run, you're going to need to use WEC method. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. And so part of what I like about studying with him is because it's not really intuitive to me. It challenges my thinking. It challenges the beliefs that I got from people that I studied in the past. And he's not afraid to call out some of these trainers, and some of them no doubt get good results, but they could be wrong about some stuff. I don't think I'll get into like who exactly he's talking about. But part of this, lone wolf thing is, even though through learning about Strong First, learning from Pavel Tsatsoulin's books and videos and students that became instructors, and you learn about, he kind of made some other people famous on the periphery. And so I'm like studying these people, I'm like, oh, I'm learning so much. And I have learned a lot, and I can prove it. I can do it in my own training, where I teach. And then there's some stuff that's a little bit different, and that's what WEC method is talking about. So I have a kind of a motto, I guess you could say, is always be loyal to yourself first. And at first that might not sound too cool, but what it means is, okay, if I'm just loyal to some group, well, then we get into like group think. And even though it might be a great group like Strong First, I have nothing bad to say about Strong First. I'm more than likely still going to be studying people that are in Strong First. I'm not just erasing all the Strong First principles from my training. But there gets to be not even talking about Strong First, but once we identify with any kind of group, whether it's political or maybe like some social group or whatever, we might not have such an easy time retaining our individual identity. We're in this group think, in this group identity. It's like, oh, you're a Democrat. Well, here's the list of stuff you believe. Oh, you're on the liberal, you're far left liberal. Here's all the stuff that you believe. Well, I don't believe anybody can really be honestly just like anyone else. You might have a whole lot of stuff in common, but at those points where it's like, oh, I was with you until you said that. That's going too far. I can't go along with that. Well, if we want to retain our group identity, we might not be able to say that. So with me, I'm not trying to be part of any group necessarily, or rather, I'd want to be a part of a group of individuals. Now, I've kind of looked around and I see that a lot of my friends, they're high-level trainers. They have their own way. They're always studying somebody else, a bunch of people. They're open-minded, but also confident in their own way. And so I started a group, and it's called Indie Strength and Movement Community. It's on Facebook. If you're in the Indianapolis area, you can join the group. If you're not in the Indianapolis area, like one of the towns around here, or then maybe it's not the best group for you. There's other groups that are more global or whatever to get. This group is mainly about people that can find each other and get together and learn from each other. And so we do that. We meet at parks and climb trees and do different stuff. And even though I started the group, it's not like I'm a part of all these things that people come up with to do. And I certainly don't see myself as the leader of this group. I'm not the leader of this group. I just set up the place where people that are like I see that like a lot of people are just like one person removed from like their new best friend. And so in the training community, like, okay, I know somebody that works at that gym. Well, I don't know the other guy. So maybe he brings them to one of our hangouts. Oh, and here's a new best friend for me. And that's actually, happened. I mean, saying best friend might be a bit of an exaggeration, but you get the idea. It's somebody that it's a whole new person that comes open-minded, wants to be part of these groups doing healthy things. And so, and I think last time we went to one of these, like somebody said something like, oh, thanks for leading this or something like that, and thanked me and someone else. I was like, oh, I'm not the leader of this thing. And then somebody else said, I think we like you as the leader of it. No, I think he was just joking, I think. But it's like, no, I'm just another individual in this group of individuals. I'm not trying to, the whole idea is this group has all kinds of high level trainers or practitioners. They don't have to be like in the business of training. But there's a lot of cool people in this group. So even if you like go to it, it's a public group, so I think you can see the members. So maybe you know somebody that's in it. But even if not, you don't have to know anybody. Join the group. You can ask questions, post videos, tutorials, or just find out where we're meeting up next. Or if you want to say, hey, I know a cool place we can meet up, let's meet up here. And more than likely that can happen. So anyways, back to I guess I didn't get not on something, but back to this another lone wolf sort of thing is, and being able to say what you think. I've spoken before on this. It's kind of a weird subject to talk about because I know that people listen to this thing, that people listen to this show, and most of the people that listen are not local. But I was talking about this friend of mine who she was more than a friend for a little while and then just friends. And I was talking about how over and over again, I'm the one that ends up paying for the carryout. We get carryout, it's like almost once a week, sometimes skip a week or whatever. And it was just, or like when we would eat somewhere, it seemed I was the one that was paying every time except for one time. And this is going on for months and months and months, with maybe a little break here and there. So I said on the show that, I talked about what was going on and getting like in this habit of, guys just kind of get in the habit of paying for women. But if it was like another guy, I'm not going to be like trying to pay for everything. So I did a show about, what was the last show called? Starting a new program. So one of the programs is our mental programs and our habits that we get into. And so after the show was over, okay, I'm ending this program of paying for everything. And it's not like I'm going to read you what I wrote. And of course, my phone is messing up. I'm going to hit pause for a second. Okay, back on. So I sent her this message. Hi, I just recorded a show about new programs, workout programs and mental and business and relationship patterns, etc. One pattern I've gotten into a couple times or so is paying for almost everything with a woman. I know you're not using me to feed your curry habit. I like to do things for you, and it would be nice to be reciprocated also. I don't think you're trying to take advantage of me. I think it's just a pattern, and I probably started it. It's not like the meals are extravagant, I know. A little reciprocity goes a long way with me. Another friend who I kind of dated a short time thought the guys just like to pay for everything, and she had a lot of dudes that did stuff for her, obvious intent. It becomes normal. I hope you get what I really mean. You're one of the few people that I try to hang out with. You're one of the few that I'm really trying to get to know. Her response, okay. That was at 10:34 p.m. that she responded after she responded about an hour after I sent the message. Then the next morning, she says, I just want to say I think you're being weird because the time we ate together before this week was at her previous apartment, and I paid. And I said, the time before this was at the place before, I don't want to say exactly where. The time before was at this other place. You did pay the only one time, if I remember correctly. I've paid for all the others. So I paid for the one that she was talking about. Or there was one before the one that she was talking about. Anyways, the time before this was at your last place. She was talking about the one before that. You did pay the only one time, if I remember correctly. I've paid for all the others. I'm not mad. I wanted to. I'm just saying it would be nice to be closer to even. There is no reason for me to pay all of the time except the rare occasion. Guys usually have an agenda when they just pay all the time. They expect something. I don't. I'm not mad at all. I don't think you were doing anything wrong. I'm sure dudes offer you stuff regularly. It becomes normal. I don't think you were doing anything wrong. It was just time for me to bring it up. Her response, yes, I have only bought you food once. Thanks for making this clear. I said, are we good? I don't want you to feel bad. I don't feel bad. I feel weird. Probably because when I reach out to hang out, you're the one who usually suggests or offers Thai food, and I just go along with it. I also remember a couple times where I suggested I eat a little bit of what you brought over, if that's what you wanted to eat, and that I didn't want any. Also, you insisted on getting food for me. I don't even like Thai food that much. I only eat it with you because you seem to like it and seem to want to bring it over. Then why specifically ask me to bring you Thai food Wednesday? If I'm missing something, just let me know. I don't want it to be weird. Her answer, because that's what you always say. Are you denying that? Look, I'm over it. No more Thai. It's totally cool. That was her. My response, I thought I was getting what you wanted to. I'd like to understand your perspective better. I hope you see mine. Her response, yeah, I do. It's all good. That was Friday, 10:13 a.m. It's Sunday at 4:36. Haven't heard from her since. That's okay. So, I try to understand, just like Hafez, I was talking about at the beginning, that I read it for the first time. He's supposed to be this great, amazing poet, thinker, and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't really like it. But I keep reading more. I keep trying. I keep trying to understand. I keep trying to understand. I keep trying to understand more. And it's like, okay. Or the Joe Bonamassa, oh, I can't wait for this CD to come out. Fuck, I don't like it. I don't like the CD. And then I listen again and I listen again. This CD is awesome. I love this album. I can't believe I didn't like it at first. It just took me a while to understand it. It took me a while to hear it. So when I'm decide to like talk to her about this, and I get the answer, and it's happened before where I really take a lot of time to like think through what I'm saying, type out this long thing, and then her answer will be K, just the letter K. And that one I put, she did put okay, 2 letters, before she said I was being weird. So as you know, what is kind of weird is talking about this stuff, knowing that, she may hear, I know she listens to the show sometimes, but and then, people that will know who I'm talking about, it's kind of weird to do this, but I don't think I'm not trying to like say that she was doing anything wrong. I'm just saying that, this is somebody that I've known for a while, get into this habit of paying for everything. And then she thinks it's weird when I don't want it to pay for everything anymore. So I think as, guys, like this man woman thing, we get, well, there was this comedian. I remember that he had this joke. I don't remember who the comedian was, but he was like, I don't let people smoke in my car. And then he's like, well, I don't let guys smoke in my car. And like, okay, that's funny because that's kind of true, because with men and women, there's always some underlying undercurrent of sexual possibility, however great or small. And it's typically the guys that are putting forth most of the effort. And so, like, part of this, and even if there is a romantic relationship going on, the guy shouldn't have to pay for everything. I think at first, the guys should pay the first time, probably the second, maybe the third. We'll see what's happening here. But if the woman isn't starting to offer, maybe I'll be a little bit more careful with that in the future. And usually there is this time when, I'm not dating tons of women by any stretch, but usually there's a point, this natural point where it goes unsaid, nothing is being said, and the woman just says, okay, I'm paying this time. And so that's really cool. And I think it should be somewhat even without keeping track of dollars and cents. Like, the dinner I paid for was $1.43 more than the one you paid for. So no, don't do that. But I think regardless of income, it should be pretty much even. And there can be some, wiggle room in that. If somebody is making a lot of money and they want to go do something very expensive, and the one that's not making a lot of money is like, I just can't afford that. And the one with a lot of money might just say, okay, I'm just going to knock it out this time. Maybe you can pay for the dinners. I'll pay for the hotel, the plane, whatever. If you could just pay for something, and then that can be okay. But whatever. But I think a good thing to do is, be honest about it. And I do think that a lot of our problems we can solve in our mind without bringing them up to somebody about their, habits or something like that. But something like that, the money stuff, I think should be discussed, because I think guys can be easy to take advantage of. And I think at some level, some women will take advantage of this. And my friend, the friend I'm talking about here, we're talking about curry that's like at the Thai foods. It ends up being like the dinners are like $13 a piece. So I'm not talking extravagant expenses here. So I don't think that she was in any way had any kind of bad intention or was trying to use me for some curry. And she's told me that Thai was like one of her favorites. So I think maybe she was being a little defensive when she was saying that she didn't even like it very much, because she told me before that she did. And that's why the Thai became something that we ate almost once a week or so, with the occasional Indian food thrown in there. I didn't make it up in my mind. So anyways, some of this, moving on. What else do I want to talk about? Jordan Peterson. So the groupthink and Jordan Peterson. So I think Jordan Peterson, if you're not familiar, I really recommend his stuff. His YouTube channel is really good. He was a psychology professor, and now he travels around the world giving talks. And a lot of it is taking on responsibility and meaning. And he's very well thought out. What he says is very well thought out. And it goes very deep. And I shared it on my Facebook. It was something from like Auckland, New Zealand, something. But if you go on there, on his website, you'll see, or his YouTube, you'll see. But there was some like protester, like from the far left, protesting or complaining about Jordan Peterson coming to speak there. And he was just saying something like, he's a misogynist. Okay. And then the radio show host was like, okay, how? Give me one example. And the protester guy couldn't really come up with anything except how people interpret him or misread what he wrote or mishear what he said. And the radio host is like, well, he can't possibly be responsible for people misreading what he wrote, can he? And the protester's like, well, no, but isn't there at some point where he's responsible? And radio show host's like, no. And then, okay, well, he's transphobic or something. Like, okay, give me one example. Didn't have one. Well, he's a this, he's a that. Okay, give me one example. And he didn't have one. And so what I see a lot, not that it doesn't happen on the right, and I won't call myself a Republican. I don't call myself a Democrat. I'm not a conservative or a liberal or anything like that. I'm into like freedom, liberty. I don't think there should be crimes that don't have victims. I think that people should be able to do pretty much whatever they want as long as they're not hurting someone else's person or property. I think complete free speech, aside from like maybe calls to violence, and even that might be a little sketchy, but or like yelling fire in the or calls to action, like yelling fire in a crowded theater, in a theater, it could be one person, that kind of thing. But those are called calls to action rather than free speech. But in some places like Canada, I know a lot of people in Canada listen to the show. There's comedians that get fined for jokes. And I think people in America sometimes forget how good we have it and what it means to be able to say what you want. And if somebody's offended, somebody's almost always going to be offended from almost anything. So when we want to be a part of these groups, then at some point, if the group, I guess depends on how the group is set up. Like I talked about, setting up the Indie Strength and Movement community Facebook group. People can say whatever they want. I mean, it would have to be something really crazy for me to block them or kick them out of the group. Or, I mean, even if they're saying that, like, if I demonstrate it, if I show a technique, post a kettlebell technique or something on there, and somebody starts saying it's dumb or I'm doing it wrong or something like that, okay, I'm not going to kick that person out of the group. I mean, it would have to be like pretty bad. I mean, if they were insulting someone else and it was getting too crazy, which has not happened. There's like 102 people in the group last time I checked. There's never been anything like that. But theoretically, it would have to be somebody being pretty far out. And it doesn't mean like I'm going to try to shut down their speech forever. But in that group where, I'm the administrator, I'm not going to allow that sort of thing happen. And nothing even close has ever happened in it. But anyways, when we want to be like part of some group, and that group identity means a person can't express themselves, say like, oh yeah, I'm with you on those three things, but that fourth thing you mentioned, I don't really think that way. I think this way. And then what happens to that person? And I think some of what's happening is, like most of people are learning. I mean, Jordan Peterson, I don't understand what the controversy is all about. And I think maybe less and less controversy has been happening over time. But there's hundreds of hours of stuff on YouTube. So from his college lectures, he was recording those and putting them on YouTube, to his public talks, interviews, countless interviews. If there was anything so crazy, maybe that's what they would use. Not that you have to agree with everything he says, but what he says cannot be accused as being one thought deep, which is, to me, part of this, like, in what, like one of these lone wolf ways that I'm talking about, where he's not afraid to say, yeah, I'm not cool with that. Here's what I believe. And he said in one where he was doing it, it was at a college, and someone came up or stood up to ask a question, and that person that stood up was a professor also. And the professor said, if someone wants to be called like these gender pronouns, a bunch of different ones, there seem to be endless. If someone wants to be called something, why won't you just call them that? And it's talking about like these new gender pronouns. I don't know if there's probably some of you that are not familiar with what's going on in that scene. But what he said was, well, there was never a time when I didn't call somebody what they wanted to be called. Like if a man transitions to a woman, he is saying, calling her, she. But he also said that, like, in his clinical practice and through his education and experience, he can also tell when somebody is just kind of more of a troublemaker, and somebody's doing it for reasons other than, yes, this is what I really believe my identity to be. So Jordan said that he would rather risk being wrong than to be compelled by law, because that's what it is in Canada now. It's a law. Scary. C-17, C-16, Bill C-17, I think it is. But it's compelled speech. No free speech. That's scary to, somebody that lives in the middle of America, and I can pretty much say whatever I want. It may have consequences, but I can still do it. But it's not illegal or compelled. So he said that he would rather be wrong than to be compelled. And the professor that he's, talking to said that he would rather err on the side of telling people what they want. And then Jordan was like, hey, I totally understand that. He's like, I totally understand that. And, just because I'm doing this doesn't mean I think other people should. But just for him, he had to stand up because he knows where this comes from. Maoist China, men and women, y'all have to have the same haircut. You have to dress the same. What? Yeah, it's the law. That's what happens when we let people go too crazy and be part of this group. Because to me, like part of like what the left is doing, that I largely agree with a lot of what the left believes, and the right. Really, to me, the differences are not really so much. But one of them is individuality. So where the left is like, okay, there needs to be like these gay rights, and in 2019, yeah, of course. But it wasn't that long ago that the gay bars, even in Indianapolis, they were getting raided, and I don't know a lot about that, but I saw something on PBS, I think it was, and it was like, whoa, that's crazy. Now, if you go like right down the road from 5 minutes from here, there's strings of them. I've never been in one myself, but you can tell the rainbow flag or whatever outside, and I personally couldn't care less what somebody does like that. But it wasn't that long ago where people really did. So the left, has their place in that sort of stuff. I think the right has done a lot of that too, because they seem to be more about the individual rather than groups. So even if you let's say you have 20 white men that are 25 years old, that's a diverse crowd. If you have 25 brown-skinned men that are 25 years old, that's a diverse crowd too. You can't tell me that 25 brown-skinned men all think the same, or that one of them could represent the others. It's so bizarre to me to think, but that seems to be what some of the left, not trying to get like too political on the show, but it's more like it's beyond political. It's not. It's human, and we should be able to talk about politics and religion and stuff without getting all riled up. We should be able to have discussions about this stuff, have different answers. But when it's weird when people say, "Oh, they'd vote for Hillary Clinton," well, she's a woman. Well, yeah, but were you as excited about the Republican woman running? No, she's stupid. Oh, okay. But it's not like the one woman could possibly be representative of women as a whole, or that the white guy that's a president is somehow representative of white guys as a whole. It doesn't make any freaking sense to me at all. So this lone wolf thing, and so it's like I want to be, there's kind of like some groups that I do want to be a part of. It's different like friendship groups, and there's what did I say? Did I say friendship groups? These different groups of friends that are cool to hang out with and do things. And there's I'm invited to this sweat lodge. It's once a month, and I was hoping to go yesterday, but my car started being weird, and so it's cool to be invited to that kind of thing. And the same guy that does that invited me to like this like men's circle thing where the guys can just be open and free to talk about stuff. And so it's really cool to be invited to stuff like that with people that are trying, and they're conscious, and they're trying to do better. And in these sweat lodges that I've been to, there's these prayers, like you say, like I think you can kind of think of the whole sweat lodge as a prayer, because sometimes it really sucks being in one. I mean, I was in one in the summer, and it was hot outside. And before we even had the rocks, because you bring the stones inside the lodge from the fire. And we just get in the lodge before the rocks were even in. We're already sweating like crazy. It was already hot. And then starts bringing the rocks in, and then you pour the water on the rocks, and it's steamed, and it was miserable. But in a way, you're kind of, the suffering is kind of good for it. It's like it kind of serves you right to suffer, which is a concept that I was thinking of going through on the air. I don't know if I've done that before. But there's something about suffering that serves you. It's good for you. And at first, if you say, to somebody, "Oh, it serves you right to suffer," what? That doesn't sound very nice. But if you can think of it as yourself, it serves you right. It serves you to suffer and to learn how to like deal with things. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds with that one yet, I don't think. But anyways, this sweat lodge, it was miserable. And I've, sometimes during the sweat lodge, if it gets too hot, you can put your head next to the ground. The air is cooler down there. There's like a small layer of like cool air that you might be able to get. Or maybe you can like put your hand out, like put your hand under the tent, under the lodge, the side of it or something. But this one, man, I couldn't. I stayed up, sitting up for a while, and then I just had to lay down. And even like my knee was up, so I was like laying on my back with my foot scooted towards my leg bent up, and even like my knee just felt hot, like it was just cooking. Yeah, it was miserable. But I think like, well, we're doing this for somebody else. This is our like prayer for someone. We're kind of like suffering for someone else. We're like in a way, maybe people think about it differently, but like you're trying to like take somebody else's karma. Like, okay, I'm like suffering through this for this person. And I noticed that like when people are saying what they're praying about, it's almost always about somebody else. And then sometimes it might be like, oh, give me the wisdom to deal with some situation. But that's how it is, you know. So I like being around people that are like that, you know. And even like around those people, we're going to agree on all kinds of stuff. But man, it would be weird to agree about everything, wouldn't it? I'm listening to Dale Carnegie's "How to Win Friends and Influence People." I'm listening to that audio on the way to work. I have about like a 25-30 minute drive to my job. And so I've been listening to that, and I'm on, I think, like the fourth disc now. And one of the things that said, like in business, if you have two partners that agree on everything, then one of them isn't necessary. I like that. If you have two partners that agree about everything, then one of them isn't necessary. So like a lot of times in relationships, like trying to like sort out like, okay, how do I approach this thing with this friend of mine who I keep taking her carry out, and she's inviting me over. It's not like I'm calling and begging to hang out with her. And I mean, I do want to hang out with her, and she invites me, and then we're each inviting each other. And so when it came to this, okay, now it's time for me to say something. I don't want to have to pay for everything. And so how do I do that? And so, I kind of try to be a little bit funny about it. You know, like I was asking her about, talking to her about wearing like shirts for my own business. I have a couple things going on. So one of them is the podcast. So I'm going to make up some, like shirts and sweatshirts, hoodies, and so I want to start wearing my own. So I was wearing all the time. I was either wearing like the Strong First shirt, or I was wearing a shirt from, when I was teaching at White Pine, and White Pine's awesome. Strong First is awesome. And now that I'm not teaching at White Pine, I'm doing just my own thing. It's time for me to start wearing my own stuff too. Not that I won't wear their stuff. It's not like anything bad happened, but it's time for me to start wearing my own thing, and pushing my own business more. So I was talking to her about the shirts, and so I was like, okay, so now the show is just called Fitness and Consciousness. It's not called the Fitness and Consciousness Podcast. It's just called Fitness and Consciousness. That's the name. And so I was talking to her. I was like, okay, well, if I get it, I might need to change the logo a little bit, because how will people know that it's a podcast if I just have a shirt on that says Fitness and Consciousness? And she said that she thinks that most people, if they see a shirt with something intriguing on it, they'll just Google it. So if you Google Fitness and Consciousness, the podcast comes up really, really easy. There's be tons of hits about it. Like, okay, so she didn't think I should put the word podcast on it. And she's like, I'll just keep it clean. And then she's talking to me about like the colors of it. So like the kind of getting in the weeds here, but just as a way to think differently. And so like one example was, okay, the logo for most stuff like iTunes and all those sources, it's neon green and black. So when you're scrolling through, the neon green, it pops out. A lot of these podcasts, they have all these symbols or like a picture of a microphone, and or if they're about fitness, there's a brain and a dumbbell, or there's a You know, I don't have anything against that. People can have on whatever they want. But to me, I'm like, okay, I don't really want like an image. I don't want a picture of something really. I just want the words, fitness and consciousness. And the script isn't fancy, the or font or whatever you call it isn't fancy. It's just, I just want it to be very simple. And so, but on YouTube, it's a little bit different. On YouTube, it's more of a, natural colors, like the background is like a forest scene, and um, the like profile picture of it is like on a dark green chalkboard. There's several reasons for that I'm not going to go into, but so her thinking, and I liked it, and she was like talking about like the neon green. She's like, oh, have more of a like a natural color, like a army green color, or like a forest green sort of shirt instead of the neons. And I was like, okay, I was thinking, neon on the black shirt. And she's like, well, black shirts, they fade, and the neon, it might fade. So after a while, it won't look right. But if you have more natural colors, then as it fades, it'll still look good. And like, okay, that's cool. I like that idea. So, like Carnegie was saying, if you have two people in business that agree on everything, one of them isn't necessary. I'm able to like bounce some ideas off of her. And then I like what she says. And I've even told her, as we talk about some other business stuff, we're talking about opening up a place where we can train people and perhaps rent it to other people that are training people. I was like, part of why I like talking to her about stuff is she thinks differently than me. And so that's cool. So if you can have your group be able to speak openly about their thoughts, it's going to be a stronger group. And learning how to, what I see like with these protesters, and a lot of it I think is mostly just like college age protesters. They just got out of mom and dad's house. Their brains aren't fully developed, literally, like, or prefrontal cortex. It's like, it's like once you're like 25, then it's more like fully developed. And so, but if they don't kind of like go along with the crowd, then they're protesting, and they can't stand to have these people thinking or speaking rather out loud. They try to shut down people speaking, and it's usually going to be somebody on the right. Even though Jordan Peterson, I don't think is somebody that's on the right. He's more somebody that just makes sense and understands the left and right. And he says many, many times there's a need for the left and the right to keep each other balanced. But if you can have your group, like when the people from the indie strength and movement community get together, like you'll see like one person doing something like climbing a tree this way. Like one of the guys that I just met, Steve, he was like climbing this thin tree like a rope just with his hands. It's like, oh, that was cool. That's neat. And then you have some people doing all kinds of stuff. And then the other people are trying to copy it. And it's all like, people are like clapping for each other and wow, oh, that's awesome. It's so supportive because everybody has these different strengths, like sometimes literally different strengths. So if you can like look at somebody that does something that you can learn from, well, you can learn how to pick that up. And sometimes literally, like, I was like lifting this big rock over my head, and other people were trying and couldn't quite get it all the way over their head. But then somebody else was doing something else that I can't do yet. So in your group, I encourage people to be able to like say what they think, and that's part of being like this lone wolf sort of thing, but also part of a group. Like not being afraid to be like by yourself with your opinion. And if you have, I remember one time I was, when I was learning about this stuff a long time ago, and it was like one way to practice that was, uh, like when everybody's at the bar or something ordering and they all ordered the same drink, you order something different. And so I did that one time when I had some family in from out of town. Oh, they were from, it was family from Germany came in. And so I quit drinking 6.5 years ago. So this would have been however long before that. And, my aunt from Germany and, a lot of them liked Sam Adams. They liked coming here and they liked the beer Sam Adams. And so people start ordering their beer and Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams. And it's going around the table and everybody says Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams. And it gets to me and I said, I'll have a Bass Ale. And everybody just kind of like looks at me like, what? You just ordered something different than everybody else. Yeah, I'm practicing. Nobody said anything, but I did get the, a look. Everybody like turns and looks like, did you just order something different than every single other person? Yeah. So, which brings me to, I'm going down the list of my outline here. Well, speaking of alcohol, and part of that is as we're, part of these different groups, a lot of people, I think especially young people, sometimes there gets to be a time when, the Pink Floyd song just popped into my mind. When the band you're in starts playing different tunes, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon. So when we're with our friends, and maybe, I have a thing that I've had. I learned it when I quit drinking. It caused me to quit drinking when I had that angel experience, which I've explained a few times. I won't get into all of it now. But like this information that I got was be a magnet for what you want to attract. And so it got to be a point where I knew that I couldn't really attract what I wanted, whether it's the right woman, the right job, the right business stuff, if I'm still like drinking, smoking weed, stuff like that. And so when I quit all that, and it was all 6.5 years ago, there's people that I haven't hung out with since. And, some of the people I've invited to do stuff, people that I used to do, workouts with, come over and we'd, drink a beer and go outside and, take our beers outside and throw kettlebells around and climb ropes or whatever we were doing. And, some of those people I really haven't hung out with since. And I think that's kind of a fear for some people, that they think maybe it is time for them to quit drinking or quit smoking weed or quit doing whatever bad habit that their group has. And then what happens when you're left alone, when you're the lone wolf and you're like, well, I gotta go if this isn't suiting me anymore. And if that means you're by yourself for a while, the right people will pop up. Because there's a lot of people that don't drink, that don't smoke, that don't get into that kind of stuff, and they're wanting to hang out with people too. And I'm not saying that if you want to quit drinking, it means you can't hang out with anybody that drinks, or sometimes it's just not a big deal. It just depends on the situation. And it's like if sometimes when the drinks or the smoke is the main attraction, that's where That's where maybe but if it's like, okay, cool, we're going to go do all of this. And then somebody just happens to like, oh, do you want a beer? Oh, sure. Okay. But if it's like other people are like, oh, I'm going out drinking. Like drinking is the event. Drinking is the thing that we're all doing. And anything that else that happens is secondary. Well, sometimes that's your cue to do that lone wolf thing and like, yeah, this isn't suiting me anymore, and it works eventually. And when I'm on this dating app called Bumble. I'm like hardly active in it because it's, I get, you match up with somebody and then the woman has to send the first message. And as I scroll through it, so many of them lead with what kind of alcohol they like. It's like, okay, we're not on the same page here. So giving way to the flow, Hafez. In prayer, I recalled your eyebrows' curved wake. The feeling it brought made the prayer house quake. Do not expect of me patient and sober. That endurance I lost, I can't ever fake. The cup's purely empty. The birds are all drunk. For only love and good work can we time take. I hear much talk of progress in world affairs. Flowers offer rapture, west winds spread joy's flake. O bride of art, don't complain of creation. Here is your groom, make an altar for his sake. The divas of trees are all wearing jewels, but beloved's beauty does nature full make. Trees huddled together share each other's weight, but cypress, free from grief, soars far from this stake. Musician, play well for these words of Hafez. These happy memories bring tears of sweet ache. If you're wondering what to make out of that one, you're not alone. Blessings in the snares. For falling in love, I am the talk of the town. I, whom fantasy cannot deceive or drag down. With my wine worshipping, I sought truth that's unknown, so myself worshipping in that ocean would drown. I'll keep faith despite critics, and happy I'll be, for suffering is sin on this path of renown. Elder, I asked, how from myself do I flee? As he raised cup, he said, secrets reveal a crown. Learn from beloved the way of kindness and flow. The circle of beauty will bring joy to your frown. What is your intent in observing world garden, if not love flowers like your eyes iris brown? Let's to tavern return now from this assembly, free of all hypocrites who in this world do abound. Just know there are blessings in the snares of beloved. Without all these tangles, how could life spin around? Hafez, kiss wine cups and beloved's lips only, but not abstinence, preacher, that sin-selling clown. Friends, let us join in waves of beloved's hair. Let its blackness expand this night's joyous air. Wisdom and unity reign, all friends attend. Close the circle and say a gathering prayer. Strings of rebeck and harp sing out in clear voice. Open your ears to those who speak knowledge rare. I swear to each friend you'll be free of grief's veil. competent mysteries, kind of if trust, if you dare. No space separates beloved and lover. If she hesitates, love her all the more fair. First counsel of elder has always been clear. Travel not with those ones whose clay you don't share. If any encircles not drunk from love's wine, let's pray for his death while he has life to spare. If Hafez ever asks for heart grateful gift to beloved's warm lips, send him for sweet care. I see no trust among people. Friends, where are thee? When did companionship end? Lovers, where are thee? Waters of life is soiled, has soul of Kezer vanished. Blood pours from flower stems, breeze of spring, where are thee? No one says a friend merits friendship in return. Truth knowers, what happened? Companions, where are thee? No ruby for years from mine of humanity. What's become of sunshine, wind and rain, where are they? What's become of sunshine, wind and rain, where are thee? This was a land of good friends and compassion. When did our kindness disappear? Kings, where are thee? The polo ball of greatness waits at center field. No players come to the horses. Riders, where are thee? Hundreds of thousands of flowers bloom. No bird sings. Nightingales, why hush? Thousands strong flock, where are thee? Aphrodite's music stopped as though her lute burnt. No one aspires to freedom. O wrens, where are thee? Hafiz, no one knows divine secrets. Seek silence. Don't ask just anyone. Wheel of time, where are thee? Wrens is the path, like the path of, I want to make sure I have that right. Okay, Rindi. Rindi means the pathway, like the path of enlightenment. So I think when it says Wrens, that's what it's referring to. So it was interesting as I picked up this book of Hafiz and I was talking about this, like this lone wolf ways, the ways of enlightenment. And then I'm reading about Rindi, pathway, Hafiz. There's a lot to dig into there. I'm just scratching the surface on Hafiz. I'm assuming that this is a good translation because that's where they're from. They're from that area, and they should know the language and stuff. But sometimes when stuff rhymes, like every word, kind of the rhyming throws me off sometimes. I guess poems are supposed to kind of rhyme a little bit, but so sometimes the way it's written out, maybe they're trying to make it more rhymey than it has to be. If that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe they're doing a better job than I could. But anyways, I think I'm going to wrap up the show there. I appreciate everyone listening to the show. The show's doing very well, and I plan on just keep working to make it as good as I can. Keep bringing on great guests, do more shows by myself, digging into these ancient philosophers and poets and the new ones too. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.